Happy no collusion day, Tucker.
Happy no collusion day. That's a good point.
The left's favorite conspiracy theory is now dead. It is buried, and there was no collusion, no conspiracy, no obstruction, nothing. The witch hunt is over.
What was the moment when Bob Mueller was like, oh, man, we don't have anything? What if this report says, no, actually, guys, you've spent 675 days yelling about nonsense, which some of us have said from the beginning.
Welcome back to AM Joy. Here on Earth One, everyone is awaiting the as-yet unknown contents of the now-completed Mueller probe and wondering how much, if any, of the report the public will ultimately be allowed to see. Over on Earth 2, also known as Fox News, the hosts are spiking the football, declaring victory for Donald Trump without having seen the report either. The Fox News hosts are taking their cues, as per usual, from Team Trump, which is reportedly taking solace in the fact that Mueller wrapped up his report without any new indictments. For Trump TV, that's all they needed in order to declare that Trump has been vindicated by their former #1 villain, Mr. Mueller. Now, while we don't know Mueller's findings or his reasons for ending the probe without any new indictments, what we do know is that the sprawling investigations touching everything in Donald Trump's world, spanning from New York to Los Angeles, continue. We also know that Mueller's results over the last 2 years have been pretty striking, charging 34 people, securing 7 guilty pleas, 1 conviction by trial, jailing or incarcerating 4 people, and sentencing 5. To Fox News hosts, these are just process crimes, no big deal. And in their view, nothing to do with Donald Trump or his election, despite several of those indicted or convicted working for or advising his campaign. But are they celebrating too early? Well, joining me now, Dean Obeidallah, host of the eponymous Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM. Nayyera, former State Department senior advisor. John Aravosis, editor of America Blog, and Tiffany Cross, co-founder and managing editor of the Beat DC. All right, thank you guys for being here. I'm going to start with you first at the table. Slate wrote up no collusion day on Fox, saying they didn't need to read the Mueller report to declare total victory for Donald Trump, even if the final report proves more nuance than Fox's initial interpretation. Slate writes, even if it proves outright damaging, the network knows its role is to declare total victory for Donald Trump. If its hosts say that loudly and often enough, its viewers may not even notice if the score ends up closer than it initially appeared.
It's remarkable what we're seeing over there. You missed one great coverage, though. Lou Dobbs had diamond and silk on to go through the Mueller report. I'm not even kidding.
It's not done unless Rayon and cubic zirconia weigh in.
The only way to beat that would be a paddle like Scott Baio, Ted Nugent, which is also a sign of the apocalypse.
And Kid Rock and his flag pants.
Look, it didn't matter. If Donald Trump was literally arrested, Fox News would have declared victory. It did not matter because they don't live in the real world. They live in the pro-Trump world. We don't know what's in the report. We're being responsible here going, we don't know what's in the report. Are there some on the progressive side who truly wanted Donald Trump to literally be let out of handcuffs? Yes.
You said you heard him on your radio show. People were calling
my radio show. But at the same time, my radio show, the resolve was very clear. Mueller, we never thought Mueller was really going to get Donald Trump, so to speak. We are. We want to do that. November 3rd, 2020, we want to send such a big message to this country that bigotry, racism, and sexism of Donald Trump and corruption has no place here. Win big and take the Senate as well. So, look, let them do their cartwheels on Fox News. We don't know what the report's going to say. A little bit of disappointment, though, about Donald Trump Jr. I've never cheered for a child of a president to be indicted before in my life.
Well,
I feel dirty about it.
So.
But look, I think the old progressive side, we're excited, still going forward. A little bit of wind out of the sail of a few people, but we're focused.
Well, let's talk about the people who don't have wind out of their sails. They have all the wind in their sails. Let's play Matt Getz, who was very excited about a thing they used to hate, the Mueller report, that they haven't read on Fox News last night.
Out of the Mueller investigation, we didn't get a single indictment on collusion with Russia. That was the underlying issue. I don't think that the president's supporters should uncork the champagne quite yet. I think there will be negative things about the president in the report. But, I mean, this was a biased group of people that only looked at President Trump and didn't look at the true collusion that Dan pointed out and that I know Dr. Gorka and I have talked about on Salem Radio.
Well, Dr. Gorka, I mean, that's case closed, Nayyera. I mean, the true collusion, and by that they mean Hillary Clinton.
Listen, this is supposed to be a political bombshell, but in reality, this is the process piece of the puzzle. It's a notification sent to Congress that Mueller's handed in the report to his ultimate boss, who is the Attorney General. And that's why Democrats have been playing it very close to the vest and talking about how there needs to be transparency. Let's have this report come out in Congress to the public. So you hear Nancy Pelosi say things like, until this is all done, we're not going to be talking about impeachment, really so that gives the opportunity to look look at everything in detail and put greater context on the fact that there have been 39 indictments and arrests so far. The Republican side is really trying to do cover for Donald Trump and start burying the report before it's even come public. They want this to be a report that this moment in time to be the definitive moment in time that the report was handed in, everything is said and done. But we know the reality is that a lot of this is going to trickle out. The fact that it has not leaked in bits and pieces from a Trump-appointed attorney general, I think, is very telling that they are concerned about what the context is in there. And we still need to wait for the Southern District of New York to also wrap up its investigation. So I think we should buckle up and for the long haul in this fight.
Yeah, and just in fairness to Mr. Gorka, he calls himself Dr. Gorka. We'll be nice to him. It was a pin from Vitesse Rend, apparently from his dad, and you can look up Vitesse Rend, and it's links to the old Nazi regimes in Europe. So we'll just make sure that that's on the record. John Aravosis, let's play Jesse Waters, who was also on Fox News last night discussing the Mueller report, and we'll let you handle that one.
There's a lot of potential felonies that happened and abuse of power from the Obama administration. Are they going to get away with it? Because it looks like potentially they might.
So, John, it feels like the sort of way this is going, and Kurt Bardell on our last hour, who used to be an advisor to Breitbart, said that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to use whatever is in this report for a new set of talking points headed into the election, which is indict someone in the Obama administration or investigate them.
Right. I mean, but I think we all knew that anyway. I mean, last night at Mar-a-Lago, they all started cheering, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up again about Hillary. I mean, I don't think it's I guess what I'm saying is I don't think it's a surprise that Fox News and the Republicans and Trump himself are going to try to make the next election A, about Hillary, and B, about lies that exonerate Trump. You know, I think there's two really important points we've got to remember here. I feel like it's election night 2018 all over again, and we're all freaking out before we actually know the results.
Yeah.
Mueller could have found that Trump did everything wrong, that Trump deserves to be in jail, he deserves to be ripped from office, but he can't indict him because of Department of Justice rules. I'm not sure that's the result, but it could be the result. We don't know. The second really important point is you don't need to have a crime to have Trump and his coterie to have committed acts that deserve impeachment. Look at that Trump Tower meeting is what pisses me off the most when I think about this. I had a top secret security clearance, and I once met with a Russian who came to my office, a Soviet, who wanted to meet with me working on the Hill, and I was so freaked out I called diplomatic security and said, the Soviets are coming to my office, and they said, he's KGB, you were right to call us, don't talk to the guy. When the Trump people got approached, when Don Jr. got approached, he said, I love it. When Papadopoulos got told about Hillary's emails, he didn't even think of calling the FBI. These guys, these are, as Steve Bannon said, these are treasonous and unpatriotic actions, and they still can rise to the level of impeachment and removal from office, even if they are not per se crimes.
Yeah, and you mentioned Steve Bannon, and Tiffany, you know, one of the challenges here is that here in the real world, if somebody had said, you know, this is treasonous, you wouldn't also expect them to then say, oh yeah, and Trump's going to weaponize this report and bludgeon the opposition party media and the Democrats, so that if he believed that these things were treasonous and thought, well, there's something ought to be done about that, he wouldn't then turn around and game out how that same activity and the report on it could be weaponized in the election.
Right. This is. It makes my head explode when I see these clips from Fox News. It's so dangerous, Joy, what they're doing and what they're saying, because for the people who are tuning into you right now, these are intellectual people. You have curiosity about what's happening. The people who are watching Fox News, this is their gospel. This is what they look at. This is what they consider to be a reputable outlet of news and information, coupled with the president's Twitter feed. And it's a scary thing when you look at what has happened and what's being said. This is how you erode the core principles of our democracy, and it's happening before our eyes. The president has all but threatened the American people with some of his tweets, saying that he has bikers and the people with guns on his side. You have Fox News being an echo chamber for this. And when you look at the hypocrisy, I mean, look, a Republican Congress spent more time investigating Benghazi and Hillary Clinton than they did 9/11. And now you have them essentially dismissing a foreign adversary who we know tried to attack our democracy. And they're saying no collusion. Well, I would encourage people to look at Jerome Corsi's case specifically. That, by definition, was collusion. He was coordinating with Roger Stone, the campaign, and WikiLeaks. That is collusion. So it's really frustrating when I hear this echo chamber of ignorance coming out of Fox News being celebrated and cheered on by wealthy, ignorant people at Mar-a-Lago, because the people who are the victims of it are somehow inexplicably maintaining themselves in this president's camp, and I just don't get it. I mean, you have to laugh to keep from crying, but sometimes it's so infuriating that these people have the loudest microphone right now.
Yeah.
We have to call this out. We can't treat it like it's normal. We can't treat this, like it's just another day in Trump land. This is ridiculous. This feels like a Saturday Night Live sketch sometimes. It feels like we're living in Gilead. We've got to bring some intellect back to the discourse.
And you know what I think, Dean, and part of the challenge here, of course, is that you do have one side that really thoroughly believes in the norms and believes in government and believes in the rules, and another side that just wants victory. What we're seeing now is not your Nixon era Republican Party, where there were at least a few members who said this is a bridge too far. Right now, what the Republican side seems to be looking at is, no, we can win this. We can keep power, and we have Fox News. Meanwhile, the New York Times reports, as if it's like odd that the Democrats, since we're talking media here, that they're barely mentioning the Mueller report. 4 of the Democrats running are United States senators. Right. And as Amy Klobuchar pointed out to our very own Casey Hunt, they would be the jury. It would technically be rather irresponsible for Elizabeth Warren or Amy Klobuchar or the other senators running, Cory Booker, to go out there and start stumping on the Mueller report when, if impeachment happened, they would be the jury. They know that, and so they act accordingly.
Absolutely.
So they're at a disadvantage.
And let's take a step back for a second. I agree with Tiffany. There are times I expect, it's like Jesse Waters to end his monologue by saying live from New York at Saturday night. It does feel like Saturday Night Live. And we laugh at it. But let's pull back for a second. No one watching Fox News thought Donald Trump colluded with Russia, regardless of him saying, Russia, are you listening? Or the Trump Tower meeting, or learning through Michael Cohen that he's in the office. Roger Stone calls, tells Donald Trump, WikiLeaks is going to dump some emails. And he goes, great. Didn't matter. That evidence means nothing. And here's another thing. According to the ACT poll 2 weeks ago, 64% of Americans think Donald Trump is a criminal. They believe he commit crimes before coming to office. Richard Nixon famously said, America needs to know if their president's a crook. Well, 2/3 of America believes Donald Trump is a crook. I think so much of it's baked in. And I think for the Democratic candidates, it's actually the right move in a way. You don't need to make the case to our fellow Americans 2 years in how bad this guy is. He literally today has the highest disapproval rating right now today of any modern day president at 53%. Jimmy Carter only had a 39% disapproval rating at this point, and he lost re-election. So look, I think Democrats should make the case. Why vote for us? We know why you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. Sexist, racist, bigoted, corrupt. We get that. Focus on the issues. Why? Healthcare, voting for all, $15 minimum wage, climate change. So I agree with the Democrats. Don't waste your time. Let Mueller report do its job. Be responsible. Be bigger than this. Give Americans a reason to vote for us. Because we know in 2018, that was a referendum. They made it clear. Record numbers. Don't vote. We're saying no to Trump and what he's about. Now let's give him a reason to vote for us in 2018.
And John Aravosis, do you agree with that? Because the reality is that these Democrats have to also make an affirmative case for themselves. And they are a lot of them are the potential jury. I mean, it just is what it is.
I'm less worried about the jury factor than I am. I think Democrats have to be careful because, as Dean just said, they've got to present a positive case, right? We had health care for 2018, and it worked for us. And they don't just want to be the anti-Trump. Having said that, as you just started this segment talking about, Fox News and the Republican noise machine are going to rewrite this issue over the next year and a half. And if we aren't constantly talking about Trump and we aren't reminding people of all the crimes and all the unethical and immoral things he's done in his campaign and his administration, I fear that they may start to forget that the right-wing noise machine will start to rewrite the narrative for us. So I think we should still keep telling them. Actually, one point I think everyone needs to make on the campaign, and maybe Pete Buttigieg has the advantage here, part of the reason to remind them about Trump is to say the drama needs to end. No more drama. And Buttigieg is probably, the most Mr. Rogers-y, no-drama candidate we've got. But any of the candidates, any of them, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Beto, they're all going to be less drama than Donald Trump. And I think That's another point I'd like to hear them keep reminding
We didn't
people.
get to use it in the last block, but do we have that Pete Buttigieg answer regarding producers? While you guys see if you can find that, I want to go to Nayyera on this, because the other issue here is that the whole world, you worked in the State Department, the whole world is watching this whole process play out. And I wonder if there is a risk that as they see the United States descend into two realities, an Earth 1 and an Earth 2, with a very powerful Earth 2 that can create a separate narrative that a good third of the country can just live in, how does the rest of the world then look at us as somebody who can't seem to extricate ourselves from these same forces that are really sort of overtaking Europe, too?
And these are the challenges that Europe is dealing with in terms of the rise of white supremacy and populist movements. And you've seen in the developing world, in parts of Africa and Asia, that corruption has always been an issue of the people in power. And how do you make sure that systems of government are delivering things like health care to the people and livable income? So this is a broader challenge that the world is looking to the United States to solve. Unfortunately, not for them, but the United States to solve for itself.
Yeah, okay, we have that Pete Buttigieg sound. And my Pete Buttigieg pronouncer coach has texted it to me. You know who you are. It's Buttigieg. I've got it. Here it is.
I do think the American people deserve to know. Obviously, it's just been delivered, but I don't think a lot of time should pass before its findings are made known, because this is such a cloud over our country. And when the highest office in the land and the campaign that got that person there is clouded and surrounded by all of these accusations, guilty pleas, indictments, we really need a full accounting of what happened if we're ever going to be able to move on.
I think it's pretty sound reasoning for the panel that he was called Mr. Rogers by John Aravosis. But I think that maybe it was Mr. Rogers.
But it's a good Mr. Rogers. It's a good Mr. Rogers.
But the real Mr. Rogers was amazing. We love Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers is one of the best people who ever lived. Nayyera and John Aravosis, thank you very much. And John, welcome to the show. We're going to have you back. You were fun. Tiffany and Dean will be back later in the show. And coming up.